Teaching Part 2. So there are certain things that all students should know when they take general chemistry or organic chemistry. And what I do is I try to emphasize understanding. And by that what I mean is, you know, the tendency is to try to sort of teach chemistry in kind of a boring and dry way, where you just say to yourself, okay, you just have to get those students to memorize those cylinder equations and how to use those 20 equations that go with their general chemistry class and those 20 reactions with the organic, and then that's it. As soon as they memorize it, we're done. There's a tendency to sort of think like that. But what I noticed when I was in college is that, you know, I would memorize those 200 equations and how to use those 20 equations that went with the general chemistry class, and then a week later, after the final exam, it would completely leave my head, and I wouldn't remember any of it. However, what I noticed is that I actually memorized, that I might have forgotten the memorization stuff, but there was understanding that actually sort of stayed with you. So much later, I would still have this understanding of how things or why things went. And this sort of understanding sort of stayed with you forever. So, you know, when you're teaching students reactions, you have them memorize reactions, or you could have them memorize the mechanism, and then you can sort of have them understand the reason why the mechanism goes the way it does. Now, if you teach the understanding, that stays forever. And so for reactions, you know, you look at a reaction and you can almost tell. You look at two reactions and you can almost tell by looking at the reactions. You can predict how the reaction will go, even if you don't know that particular reaction. And from your understanding of reaction mechanisms and from understanding how molecules act. And then, if you have this kind of understanding, you know, what this does is it's really exciting and fun and fabulous, because, you know, you sort of understand the molecule. And this is what I thought was so fun and interesting about chemistry. And this kind of understanding really stays with you forever. It doesn't go away, you know, a week after the end of the final exam. It stays with you forever. And if you can teach students this kind of understanding, it's really something that stays with them forever. And then the other thing is that I always, the standard way that I teach is I give quizzes in between exams. So I would give 2 quizzes and then an exam, and then 2 quizzes and then an exam, and so on. And the reason why this is very useful is because first, it sort of gives you an exchange of information. So when I give a quiz, I get back the results from the students, and I can tell if the students understood what I was going over. So I'm watching the students, the audience, as I'm going over the material, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, they're following this, no problem. And then I look at the quiz, and I find that no, they weren't really understanding what I was going over. But they looked like they were understanding it, but no, they weren't. And so then I explain what it is that they weren't getting, so that they actually learn the material. The other thing that it does is, there are certain things that all organic chemists think that students should know when they get out of organic chemistry. There are certain things that every general chemistry person knows that they should know when they get out of general chemistry. Chemists know this, students do not. And what professors typically do is they put these important concepts on their exams. And what giving quizzes allows you to do is it allows you to show students what are the important concepts that they get out of from taking this class. So it's sort of a two-way street. So I get some information about what the students are understanding and what they aren't. The students are learning what I think and what all chemists think are very important things that they should know when they get out of this class. It's kind of an interactive process in that way. The other thing it does is, there's some courses that you can just sort of spend 72 hours before the exam and then do really well on the exam. Chemistry is not one of these. The chemistry is one of these courses that you really have to study way in advance. So, it pays better for chemistry if you study, 15 minutes every day for the entire period of time before the exam, rather than spending 72 hours, even if it's more time, immediately before the exam studying for the exam. And what quizzes do for you is it forces people to study way in advance. So the students are thinking to themselves, oh my God, there's a quiz, I have to study. If there was no quiz, then they would say, oh, today there's no quiz, so I don't have to study, so I'll study, 2 months down the road, and it'll be fine. But if you give them a quiz, oh my God, there's a quiz, I have to study. And then what this does is it forces people to study all the time. And forcing people to study all the time is really good because then they really learn the material. The other thing that is very important that a lot of people sort of don't even think about is the importance of caring and empathy. People usually don't even think about it. But I think it's really, really important and can make a big difference in student performance. What I mean by this is, I think that for college level learning, it is more how much effort you put into it than that you're intelligent and can pick up material. So what students thinking that you care about them, that you worry that they're not understanding the material does for them, is it makes the students try harder. Students thinking that you understand where they're coming from, that you care about them, makes the students try. And the difference in trying is like the difference between night and day. If a student really puts in the effort and really, really tries because they feel that you worry about them, that you care about them, that you understand where they're coming from, that can make the difference between a student who is absolutely superior in chemistry, who loves chemistry and thinks it's the most fabulous thing in the world, from a student who really hates chemistry, does horrible in chemistry, and never wants to see chemistry again. So it makes a big difference. And this is why I think being a chemistry professor is like the most fabulous thing in the world, because you actually get to influence how students perceive chemistry. You get to influence what they learn. You get to influence what they think. You get to influence what they're going to do with the rest of their lives. You get to open doors for them so that they can do things with their lives that they might otherwise not be able to do. So I think this is why I think being a chemistry professor is the most fabulous and most interesting thing to do with